Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. Let me know if you can hear me. I just want to make sure my microphone is working. Let me have a quick look here. All right. Okay, so today we're going to discuss everything pertaining to job searching. We're going to talk about how to apply to a job if you're in university, part-time jobs, full-time jobs. Got some of your quotes, some of your questions listed down below. Perfect. Sounds good. So if you guys have any questions, just write them down in the comment section. And once I go to the presentation, I will address all of your questions towards the end as well. But if you have questions regarding what I'm talking about at any point during the live stream, you can post them down below and I'll expand more on that as well. But just to give you a full idea of what to expect during this live session, I want to make sure if you're in university, you're looking for a part-time job, or maybe you're going to graduate and you're looking for a full-time job. After watching this session, you have every single thing you need to know in order to find a job. So let's get right into it. I've told you what the agenda is like. I want to start by telling you a little bit about myself, my own story, and why I'm so interested in this topic. Okay, because when I was in university and you're investing 30,000, 40,000, $50,000 into your education, you want to know you'll be able to find a job, right? Especially if you're going abroad to find a job or investing in your education, you want to make sure after you invest in your education, you can find a job. For me, it wasn't that easy because I went to do my MBA and I just very quickly realized that I just don't like MBA. I don't like business. I don't like anything to do with supply chain, blah, blah, blah. So I switched out into a master's of education degree, and I had no idea what kind of jobs I could get with it. I thought I could maybe go into teaching or counseling or anything like that. It's only when I almost finished my degree that I realized that I can't be a teacher because you needed a special certification for that, which you only get if you do your bachelor's degree. So I wasn't going to finish a master's degree, go back, and then do a bachelor's degree again, put in like $60,000 again. So once I graduated, I was like, what am I supposed to do now? Where am I supposed to look for a job? What kind of job am I supposed to be looking for? And it was a really bad time because I was in debt. I had a lot of money I had to pay off. My parents had paid a lot for my tuition fee, and I had nothing to show for it. Now I'm at a position where I've got a job and I'm all stable, I'm good to go. But I see a lot of students still in that same exact spot. They still don't know where to look for a job. They're applying for jobs, they're not getting any responses. And the worst thing I see, and this is something I did as well, is the first job they find, no matter how good it is, no matter how bad it is, they just take it because they're so desperate. And then a month, 2 months into that job, they realize that I hate this job. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't even want to do this tomorrow. I don't want to do this next week. So they find themselves, even though they have a job, they're stuck in something they just don't like. And if you've been in that position or you know someone who has, tell me in the chats below because I know a lot of students, including some of my very close friends who were very excited. Oh, I finally got a job after graduation. And now they're like, I wish I had just not gotten a job and I was at home doing nothing instead. So I want to make sure by the end of this session today, not only do you know how to find a job, but find a job that you actually want. And I think a lot of students we're so desperate, right? When we graduate, we're like, I don't care. Just give me any job. I'll mop your floor if I have to, as long as there's money coming in, as long as there's some sort of revenue stream, I'm okay. But I can tell you with experience, once you start doing a job that you don't enjoy, very, very quickly it makes your life a living hell. So I want to start by telling you about what are things I see students doing that don't work in terms of job searching. A lot of common practices that I see on a day-to-day basis, the things I've done, things my colleagues have done. The first thing is people think they have to look for a job after they graduate. I'll tell you for a number of reasons why this is a problem, okay? Suppose you're graduating with a human resource degree, okay? You've got 50 people in your class, and then you've got people one semester behind, one semester in front of you. Then you've got people who are doing that same degree in another university, in another college. Everyone who's graduating has the same credentials you do in terms of the degree, right? Depending on the variation of your university, you might have a different kind of degree, some better than others. Now, if you apply for jobs right after you graduate, you are behind like 80% of the people who've either already graduated or who've already started to apply to jobs. I cannot tell you how many people I know who've reached out to me on LinkedIn saying, yeah, sir, I graduated 4 months ago. I've been looking for a job and I can't find one. Well, you shouldn't have been looking for a job 4 months after graduating. You should have been looking for a job 4 months before you even graduated. That's where the search starts. If you walk into a store, you should know what you want to buy. Otherwise, you're just window shopping. You don't know which aisle to go into. You don't really have any idea what you're doing. You don't want to be in that spot when you're looking for a job, especially when you're accumulating debt, when you're paying your rent every single month, and you don't really know where the money is going to come from. Your focus 100% should be on finding a job. So, ideally, I would say 2 to 3 months before you graduate, you should actively be applying. You should be looking out the job posting. You should be networking. We'll get into the specifics of that later on as well. But don't wait till you graduate. Not to say that it doesn't work. I know a lot of people who graduated, they applied for one job and they just found it. That's fine for them, but it doesn't work for everyone. In fact, it doesn't work for a lot of people. And if you want to kill time and just pay your monthly expenses based on no income, maybe you're still working a part-time job that pays you bare minimum, you can do that. But it's not ideal now, is it? So here's what I suggest. Last semester should be all about researching the kind of job you want. It should be all about which industry you want to get into, and you should know how much these jobs pay, how much, what are the requirements they're looking for. This is the research you should do before graduating. Too many students, they graduate and then they're like, what kind of job can I get? I'm thinking, maybe, can I get a marketing job? Let me look into marketing jobs. And they apply to 50 marketing jobs, 50 human resource jobs, 50 whatever jobs, and then they get no calls back. And they're like, okay, this isn't working. I should have started earlier on. So, biggest tip for me would be start early, get ahead of the curve. I know it's, I did the same thing as well. It's really easy to get lazy with it. You get one job, like I said, when I graduated, I was actually working at a hair salon, and I was like, "Hey, I'm in Vancouver. I'm making money. That's all I need. I don't need a full-time job. I can wait wherever." But then you're wasting time. You're doing a job you don't enjoy, or you're doing a job that you didn't spend $40,000 into your education to do that. Okay, so wrap this up. Start early. One thing I'll tell you, people think the best way to start a job or best way to look for a job is through online job postings. And I was in the exact same boat. If you think you should go to Google or you go to monster.com, indeed.com, refresh, every single job you see, you apply. That is not the best way to apply for a job. Let me tell you why. I'll give you a quick statistic. 80% of all jobs, anywhere from 80 to 85% of all jobs, are never posted anywhere. Now, you might be thinking, well, how are people hired if they don't post a job anywhere? Quick answer to that is networking. Now, networking is where people get really scared by, like, oh, I don't know how to network. I don't know people, blah, blah, blah. Networking is just knowing someone who's in a certain industry or a certain company or in a certain position, and they might have industry knowledge. That's all you're doing. That is how most people make transitions. So, for example, say there's a team. There's a team in the company, and there are 5 people in that team. One person leaves the team. Now they have an opening for that one new position. What's going to happen is people within that organization will either find out someone's moving out of the company or no longer in the company. The company might send out a memo internally to the company that, hey, just so you guys know, there's an opening. Someone's going to talk to their boss or talk to their colleague, go out for a coffee with someone from a different department and say, hey, I've been looking into this opening in your department, and I want to make a transition in my department to your department. And then if they like the person, if they're a good fit, they just transition, and the job is never posted anywhere, right? Same thing happens externally. Sometimes companies aren't able to find someone internally. Sometimes there's no one in the company. Sometimes there's very few people who are suitable for that job. So then they ask all of the people in their company, do you know anyone who's a good fit for this job? Externally, maybe they're doing something else. Maybe they're doing something in some other company, right? Say there's like 4 people in the team, there's one slot left, and you're in a different team, and you've got a really good friend of yours who might be a good fit. You might actually get a referral bonus. Companies pay a lot of referral bonuses if you refer someone who's going to be a good fit for the job. So everyone else in the company is going to go to their LinkedIn, they're going to go to their friend list, they're going to ask people, hey, there's a job opening in my company. Give me your resume. I'll put your application forward. I'll get the referral bonus. You will get the job. Everyone wins. The job is never posted anywhere. These are the jobs that you want to get. These are the jobs that are actually worth getting into because they're high in demand and they're important jobs within the organizations. A lot of people, they waste so much time relying on things they have no control over. You don't control who sees your application when you're applying online. You don't control how long it takes you to get a reply back. And you probably know this. If you've applied to an online job posting, how many times have you applied to a job posting and gotten no reply? Because I remember when I was looking for my job, I applied to 20, 30, 40, 50 different places, no reply, or I would get one of those automated messages like, hey, we found someone else who's a great fit for the job. I'm sorry. And then maybe you were waiting like a month to hear back from them, but you never know. So the way to actually find a job, the way to actually increase your way to get a job is to network, and I'll tell you about how to do that as well, okay? If you have a notepad, write this down right now because what I'm telling you is absolute gold. This is how you will find a job. This is how you will up your chances, okay? Put all the online job postings aside for a second, okay? I want you to create a LinkedIn profile if you don't already have one. You need a LinkedIn profile if you're looking for a job. Everyone who's going to hire you is going to look through your LinkedIn profile. They want to make sure you have some sort of professional outlet, okay? No one's going to go through your Instagram. No one's going to go through your Snapchat, anything like that. It's all going to be about LinkedIn. Have a LinkedIn profile. Now, say you want the job of an entry level job. Maybe you're doing accounting, right? You want an accounting assistant job. What you want to do is on LinkedIn, search for everyone in your city who has the job title accounting assistant, not accounting manager, not accounting coordinator, no one above what you want to do, the exact job title you want. So, accounting assistant. You will put accounting assistant on LinkedIn and you will find all of the people nearby who are accounting assistants. The beauty of this is, since it is an entry level role, the people you are reaching out to are not very high up in the chain. They're on the ground level. So they have more time to spare than people higher up. If you reach out to a manager, they will not give you the time of the day. They're too busy. They've got a lot of other things going on. And when you reach out to these people who are doing exactly what you want to do, they will give you their time. So all you have to do, this is all you have to do. Make a list of those people who are doing exactly what you'd want to do. And maybe in the companies where you want to work, make a list of them and send all of them a personalized message about what they're doing. Okay. This is what the message is going to look like. Hey, I went through your profile. I love that you're working in XYZ industry, in XYZ company. I see you've been an accounting assistant for the past 5 months. I'd love to know what you're doing in that job. That's it. That's it. That is all you have to say. Nothing about, hey, I'm looking for a job, give me a job. Hey, how to get a job in your company. Nothing like that. The only purpose of this is for you to understand what their job is, how they got into their job, what it took to get into their job, and what the day to day looks like. You reach out to 10 people. Once you reach out to 10 people, maybe 5 of them will reply back saying, hey, you know what, let's have a call on Monday or whenever. And during that call, the whole purpose of the call is just to talk about them. Do not mention anything about I'm looking for a job, because the moment you're trying to take something from someone, that's when they're like, oh, he just wants something from me, why should I waste my time? But if you want to talk about them, people love talking about themselves. You're like, hey, I want to talk about you. I want to talk about your company, your position. Tell me about what you like about your job. People will give you the time of the day. So when you get on a call with them for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however long it is, you will ask them questions about, tell me about how you got into this job. What did it take? When you ask this question, they will literally tell you how they got the job they had. They will give you a clear cut path, a step by step process of how to get in the job they're in. Ask them, what are the day-to-day requirements? What's the company looking for? Then you know, if you don't have certain requirements, you can get those requirements when you apply, so you have more chances of getting a job. So you understand what I'm trying to say here? When you talk to people who are already doing what you want to do, and you're asking these questions about what are the requirements, how do I get into that company, what does the company look like, what does the day-to-day activities look like, you're getting an entire blueprint of how to land that job. Now, the best thing is, now you know how to get the job. Now you know what it takes to get the job. Now you know what the day to day responsibilities in that job look like. Suppose you're talking to someone for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. Eventually, when someone's talking about themselves for quite a while, they tend to ask the other way around. They're like, "Hey, listen, I've been talking about myself for like 20 minutes. Tell me about you. What are you doing? Or why are you so interested in my job? Why are you so interested in my industry?" And then you can start saying, "Oh, you know what? I'm doing XYZ, or maybe I'm a graduate right now. And when I was going through your profile, I was very interested in your kind of experience. And I just want to talk to you more about it." What you're communicating to this person is you are interested in their job, in their company, in their industry. Now, when someone is hiring someone, what are they looking for? Someone who's interested in their job, in their company, in their industry. What you have done is you have created a connection with someone inside the company who knows you're interested in the role, who knows you're interested in the industry. So when there is a job that opens up, they'll call you and they'll reach out to you first. They'll say, "Hey, I know someone who's going to be a really good fit for this job. Before we even post this anywhere, let me just reach out to that person." They'll reach out to you and say, "Hey, there's this job opening. Remember you talked to me like a month ago? Why don't you apply now?" If there's no job opening, maybe there's a job opening then and there. They'll say, "Hey, you know what? Lauren from the other department, she's actually hiring from this role right now." Or maybe my friend at XYZ company, he's hiring for this role right now. Why don't you just send me your resume, or I'll introduce you to that person. I can't tell you how many times this has happened. I have talked to someone, and after the conversation, they were like, "You know what? I think you'd be better suited for a job in this other company. Let me just give you my friend's contact number." Now you have one connection of someone who knows you really well, and they're going to recommend you to someone else. And this is how you network. This is how you create leads for yourself. This is how you actually start networking in a way that finds you a job. The way a lot of people do it, they see networking like, "I'm going to reach out to as many people about getting a job, and eventually one of them will do it." So think about it like this. Think about telemarketers, right? When someone calls you, when you get one of those promotional emails, the moment you realize they're trying to sell you something, or the moment you realize they're trying to get something out of you, trying to make a sale, you're like, "Oh, I'm not interested." Because it's all about them. It's like, "Hey, buy my product, buy my this. This is our new promotion. This is our new product." You don't care. It's not about you. It's about them. So when a lot of students do this on LinkedIn, their message is like, "Hey, I want this job. Can you help me find a job?" Or, "Here's my resume." I work as a recruiter. I can't tell you how many times I get people who send me a 2,000 word paragraph on LinkedIn with, "This is my job story. I was born in 1994 and then I went to this high school." Why do I care? I don't know who you are. Why are you telling me your job, your entire life story? Same exact thing when you're applying to jobs, right? You have to make it about them. You have to make them feel special. You have to get information from them about their life. Once they've invested in you, once they've become a little bit vulnerable, they've given you information, now they have a relationship with you. And every time you're doing this, you're reaching out to someone, you're having one conversation with someone, you're having another conversation with someone. Suppose you talk to 10 people, that's 10 seeds you have planted everywhere. If there's a job posting in any one of those ten places you talk to, they might reach out to you. Or even if they don't reach out to you and you're applying to a job posting that comes up, you can always reach out to them saying, "Hey, listen, I know we talked a month ago about this position. You know, I'm really interested in it. There's a job posting that just went up on your company. I just wanted to let you know that I applied." If you had a great conversation with them initially, what they might do is they might actually reach out to the hiring managers and say, "Hey, this person has applied. They talked to me personally a month ago. I would highly recommend them. I thought they were a great fit." Guys, this is how you find a job. This is the true shortcut to finding a job. This is you being active, going into the market, talking to people in companies, talking to people about their jobs. You know what the best part about this is? When you do this whole process, and when the job posting finally goes up and you apply to the job posting, when you are in the interview, you are not only talking to someone who you've already talked to before and you're comfortable with them, they're comfortable with you, but you know every single thing they're doing on that job. Well, they can't throw any curveball questions at you like, how would you handle a situation where there's an accounts payable task or an accounts receivable task? Again, we're going with that accounts example as well. You already knew that. You already knew you'd be doing that because you talked to someone on the team prior. So you get all this inside information, all this inside intel. Imagine how much better you would do if you know every single thing they want you to do on the job. You will have examples for every one of those things. You will have really, really good experience you can share pertaining to those things. And especially when a lot of other people are interviewing as well and they don't know people on the team, trust me on this one, you will stand out. Guys, if you didn't write that down, rewind this, write it down again. When you are about to graduate, this is how I want you to find a job. LinkedIn is going to be your go-to find a job. Do not rely on online job postings because it's going to take up so much of your time and you're going to be applying to 50, 100 different places, right? So this was my biggest golden nugget. Now let me explain to you about what the job process looks like. Okay, from the moment you're looking for a job till you get placed, what does that whole process look like? So you can understand where you need to make amendments to make yourself better. Okay. Now, suppose we'll go through a different example here. We'll go through you are looking for a HR recruiter, my job. Okay, you're looking for a recruiter job. What you'll do now, suppose you're doing this the old fashioned way, or maybe you're networking and they gave you a job posting and you're applying to the online job posting. We'll just take that example for now. You will apply to a job posting, right? Once you apply, is HR a decent profession? It is decent because I'm doing it and I love it, and I help other people get jobs as well. Thank you for asking that question, Aditya. So when you apply to jobs, right, you will apply with your resume. Your resume is going to go into what's called an applicant tracking system. If you don't know what that is, suppose the same job is going to get posted on monster.com, indeed.com, and a bunch of other job boards. Recruiters don't want to go to every single one of those websites and download all the resumes from there and then individually see that. That takes too much time. So what we use is something called an applicant tracking system where all of those job postings go into one hub application. So we see all of the resumes in one place. It makes it a lot easier for us. So when you apply to a job posting, no matter where it's from, all of it goes straight to our system and we see all the resumes in one giant list so we can go through them. So you'll apply for a job. Now, this is again in the best case scenario, right? You apply for the job, the recruiter will look at your resume. Maybe they love your resume. They'll reach out to you over email or they might call you. The purpose of this first call, the phone screen, is to see if what's on your resume matches what they talk to you about on the phone. So, for example, if the job requires 2 years of experience and your resume says you have 2 years of experience, they want to call you to make sure that information is correct. And they'll ask you a little follow-up questions like, tell me about your experience in the past 2 years. What kind of work have you done? What kind of experience have you had? They'll try to flesh it out. And then also they'll try to get an idea of what your communication skills is. This happens a lot, unfortunately, where a resume looks really good. We're like, this is the candidate. Oh my God, a perfect experience. And they call them up and their English is not good, or they can't communicate, or they're talking too fast. And this is why communication skills are just so important, because even if you have the best job experience, if you're not communicating your experience well on the phone, you might not get the job, right? So you're going to have that phone screen. Now, suppose you do really well on the phone screen. You're going to go back to the manager, and the manager can be like, okay, let's book a first interview. You will have a first interview from that stage. A lot of places they tend to have two interviews, unless they really want to hire someone really quickly. And if it's an entry level job, the more higher up the job is, the more they want to be sure they found the right person. For mine, I had one phone screen, and then, well, I had two phone screens. I talked to my direct manager, I talked to a recruiter, and then I had one in-person interview before I got the job offer. But for a lot of places, I know they have two interviews. There's usually a theme. Like one of them might focus on your technical skills or your skills, and the other interview might focus on how well you fit into the actual team, how well you fit into the company, right? So suppose you have your first interview. After your first interview, you'll have your second interview, and then after your second interview, they'll do your references. So they'll contact people you worked in the past. If you don't have any work experience, they'll contact your professor or whatever. Just don't. They're not going to contact your parents or anything like that. There's no bias involved, right? Once that's done, once your references clear out and everything's good about you, some places require a background check if it's like a government company or not, but most places don't. And then they'll give you the job offer. That is how you go from applying to a job all the way to getting a job. Okay. Now I want to break down if you don't get a job. if you don't get a job, how to know where the problem lies. Okay. And this is you troubleshooting your process, right? Now, the first point of contact you have with the employer is your resume. This is the first thing they know about you because when you apply, that's the only thing they have about you, just your resume. Now, suppose you applied to 10 places, 20 places, 15 places, and you haven't gotten any responses. That means you are stuck at the very first step of the job application process. There's no problem with the interview skills yet. There's no problem with your job searching process yet. You know the problem is with your resume because you applied to all these places and you're not even getting through the first step. Unfortunately, I would say a good 80% of people are stuck in this phase because of a extremely lacking resume. Okay. And especially, I can tell you about myself as well. I thought my resume was amazing. It wasn't. You have to get real with yourself. If you think your resume is good, go to a career expert, go to someone who's working in that job and show them your resume. Unless they tell you your resume is amazing, think it's not. Just think it's the worst resume in the world because you will think it's great. But someone from the outside might tell you, you know what, your resume isn't that good at all. I cannot tell you how many resumes I've seen from students who've said, "Oh, I don't understand what's wrong with my resume." And it's half a page. It's their name, it's their education, it's teamwork and communication skills, blah, 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 references, and then the rest of it is blank. And they're like, I don't understand what's wrong with my resume. Why am I not getting calls? Guys, this is the main reason you will not get called for job interviews because of a lacking resume. I can't tell you. And especially if you're not getting called in for interviews, and if you're only getting calls from like marketing companies or like call centers or fast food companies, these places they don't care much about your qualifications. If you're looking for an actual serious office job, you're not getting calls from those jobs, then you know your resume is lacking. Guys, in the description right now, you will find a free PDF with my top 10 resume tips. Click that link below, put your email in, download that. That PDF alone will give you the top 10 resume tips you need to make a resume that's really, really good. If you do want step-by-step instructions, you can also check out my full course in the description below. Yeah, I'll give you a special price just because you're a subscriber here as well. But essentially, the resume, guys, it's so important. I cannot tell you. Okay, if you are not getting any calls, go through your resume, go to your career mentors. Maybe you have a career department in your university. Do not apply to jobs if you have a resume that you know for a fact is good. On that note as well, suppose you've made a resume. Okay, you've gone through career experts, they've made a resume for you. You have a master resume and you think, okay, now I've got the resume and I'm going to apply to all of these jobs with one resume. Suppose you have, let's go back to the recruiter job, right? Suppose you take your recruiter resume and you apply to 50 different recruiter jobs. You're going to miss out on, again, a good chunk of those interviews because your resume is not individually tailored to the job you're applying to. Even if you have the same job title in different organizations, you have different job responsibilities, right? If you are an accounting assistant in one job, their accounting task might be more accounts payable, account receivable, maybe some payroll, while somewhere else you might just be an assistant to a senior accountant with your job responsibilities being more clerical, more administrative, more documentation. So because every single job has different job duties, has different job requirements, you're going to need a different resume for every single job you apply to. Now, does it have to be entirely different? No, it doesn't have to be entirely different, but it has to have the exact keywords that they're looking for. So I'll give you an example. So for example, in an accounting administration job, they're looking for someone who has experience with taxing or taxation and payroll, accounts receivable. These are the three things. For example, on your resume, right at the top of your resume, you're going to have something called a key competencies section or a highlights of qualification section, and you will write word for word accounts payable, payroll, whatever the third thing I mentioned. You will write those words there, and for each one of them, you will give a one-line example of how you have that experience. So, for example, accounts receivable, you will write accounts receivable did accounts receivable tasks for 45 companies in the past 4 months. That's your one line showing how you have that experience. So imagine this, a company is looking for three things from this job. And they open your resume. The first thing they see are those three exact things they're looking for with proof, with one line of evidence to support that. They're going to read the rest of your resume. They're going to read the rest of your resume because it's individually tailored to the job that you applied to and it's relevant to that job. So, using this technique, you'll be applying to a lot less jobs. You no longer need to go to LinkedIn, Indeed, apply. What will happen is your resume might be 30%, 40% tailored to every single job you apply to, but it's not going to be 100% tailored to any one job. And guys, at the end of the day, you want one job. You want to speak to one specific employer. You want them to read your resume and think, wow, this resume was made only for me or only for our company. That is how you stand out. Listen, I've been doing this recruiting job for a while. The moment I get a resume, I can tell if this resume has been sent to 50 other places. There's nothing wrong with sending the same resume to a lot of different places. A lot of people do that, but you don't stand out as much because your experience is very general, right? Like if you're applying for an accounting job, and you have some accounts experience, some HR experience, some marketing experience, you've got a lot of that, a lot of muddled up. Hello B, yes, you can find some PDF resumes. If you want to check out my full course, it has a lot of resume templates as well. You can check that out in the description. If you want to check out some other ones, just Google free resume templates. You can find a lot of those as well. I just recommend not going with someone that has a picture in it. You don't need your picture on a resume. Believe it or not, you really don't unless your picture has something to do with the job itself. If you're applying for a marketing job, or sorry, if you're applying for a modeling job where your face is part of the job, don't include that on there because people, when they're hiring, they want as little reason to be biased as possible. Your face, if it has nothing to do with the job, don't have it on there. There's no point. Another thing I've seen is people posting just absolutely terrible photos on their resume. Oh man, I remember one of the students I was working with. He submitted a resume to me, and the background was all like, the flowery patterns or whatever. It was his face and all his flowery background applying for a senior accounting job. Like, why? You don't need to have that on there. Leave your picture out. It doesn't serve you any purpose at all. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. Individually tailored, your resume template doesn't really matter as much. If you can keep it concise, that's the most important part. And that's the other thing I want to get into. When you're in university, you don't have a lot of experience, your resume should be no longer than 2 pages. That is the maximum it should be. And if you're in university still, 1 page. That's all you need. It shouldn't even be more than 1 page because you just don't have the experience. What I see a lot of people doing is, I was a president of the chess club in 12th grade, or I was part of the running team when I was 4 years old. Like, why? It's not relevant to the job. You don't have to include all these things and just make your resume longer. Instead, save the recruiter some time, save the employer some time, have a 1 page resume. This is what you want to do, especially if you're a student and you're applying for a part-time job or you're applying for an entry-level job. Write this down right now. Some board communication skills, team working skills, organizational skills, attention to detail. These are things you will find across the board, right? And of course, customer service, but that goes with the communication piece. Because if you're applying to like a retail job or a call center job, any entry level job, you will need that communication piece. So what I want you to do on your resume, right at the top, have it literally your name, your contact information. Under that, you will have summary of qualification or key competencies. Under that, have 3 or 4 points that address the exact things they're looking for. So, for example, they're looking for team working, communication skills, whatever. Write those 3 things down word for word, bolden them, and give one example in one line of how you have that, and then write your education below that. And if, of course, you don't have work experience at this point, under work experience, you can write, or instead of work experience, you can write relevant experience. This is where your club experience is. This is where your volunteer experience is. Maybe you help someone, maybe you do some charity work, whatever you do. This is where all of that comes in. right at the bottom, you can have your skills and you can have your interests on there. With all of these things, you never want to list them down. Okay, like if you're listing Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, don't list them down. Always provide proof, always provide evidence. So if you write Microsoft Suite, one line of evidence: use Microsoft Suite in 34 projects during masters of whatever program. Okay, give proof, because anyone can write these things in their resume. Anyone can say, I'm a team player, I'm a community, well, whatever. Where's the proof? Give me proof. Okay, if you are a student and you don't have experience, all of that should fit into one page on your resume. One thing, when you're applying for part-time position, or when you're applying for customer service job, or you're applying for very entry level jobs, their requirements from your resume aren't a lot higher. What I mean by this is they just want someone who can come in and do the job. If the job you can learn on the job itself, like in the first week, they'll train you how to do it. I'll give you an example. I was working at Cineplex, the cinema. My job was to sell people popcorn and drinks and all of that. I had customer service experience, but even if I didn't, all I had to do was tell them I can talk to customers, I can talk to people, I know how to work a machine, I know how to work a till. Even if you don't, you've used a computer before, right? So this is what they wanted to do: someone who was high energy, someone who had good communication skills, and someone who was team working. These are the three things. And guys, no matter what kind of experience you have, no matter where you are in your education, you can find examples of all these three things: team working, you've done group projects; communication, you work with your colleagues, your students, you work with your teachers. You can find these examples and include that on your resume. Okay, part-time employers will not be as picky. All they want to know is, can you communicate? Are you a positive person? Are you a team player? All you have to do is give them reasons, give them information about that as well. Can you give an example for applying for an accounting post as part-time job? Well, the thing about accounting jobs, a lot of accounting jobs that are part time, that depending on the company you're working for, you'll be providing some sort of administrative support or clerical support. The thing with part time is it depends on the need of the company. If you're only doing this thing part time, it means the company only needs you on certain days, or they only need you to do certain documentation. So it's going to vary across the kind of posting it is, right? So you have to look at the job description specifically, what kind of accounting position it is, what they're looking for. And then, of course, same thing, like I said, find the 3 to 5 things they're looking for. One example of each of those right at the top of your resume. Include any work experience, include any relevant experience you have. So you're kind of seeing a theme with what I'm telling you here. Every single job you apply to, make sure individually tailored to that job. Pick out the keywords, pick out the key themes you're looking for in that, and have it at the top of your resume, and then expand on it below. Guys, you do this, you follow this exact template, you apply to jobs, I guarantee, I virtually guarantee you, believe me, you will see a big uptake in the number of employers who call you for a job. Because a lot of students, man, they don't know how to make the right resume. A lot of their resume, I've Here's something you should do actually. If you're in university right now, go to your computer lab or your printing room or whatever. A lot of students will print out their resumes and leave some extra copies around, okay? Just go through those resumes. Just go through some of those resumes, okay? You will see most of them are a half a page long. They have no information. They have very basic information like team worker, blah, blah, blah. And if you have a good resume with good experience, not even good experience, if you have good examples to support that, you will blow your competition out of the water. Breton, you asked how to get a first part-time job as a student. Like I mentioned, with part-time jobs, it isn't as much about networking, because if people are looking for a retail job, or people are looking for someone to work at a 7-Eleven, they're not going to post it on LinkedIn. And well, they might, but you're not going to be reaching out to the hiring managers there. These jobs are more done through online, okay, which is why your resume is super important. Breton, if you're listening to what I'm saying, all you have to do, go through the job description that you're applying to, look for what they're looking for. I will guarantee you, if it's a part-time job, communication, positive attitude, team working skills, maybe some organizational skills, that's all they'll be looking for. Write those things word for word on the top of your resume in a section called summary of qualifications. For every one of them, communications, why are you good at communication? Give one solid example in one line, and for every one of them, do that. And then Under that, write your education. Under that, write relevant experience, and then go into your experience. Again, if you want to know more about how to go step by step, how to make a resume, I've got a whole 2.5 hour course ready to go. It's in the description. I'll give you a special price on it today. Check that out. It'll give you a whole blueprint on how to write a resume. Believe me, if you even do half the course, you'll be very impressed with how many people call you for an interview. Sumit, you've got another question. Can you explain what is credit system? Today, we're not going to be talking about anything credit system. We're talking about job applications, all of that stuff today. Good time to jump for international students in universities. Well, you know what? We're in a strange time right now. We can't really say what the job market looks like, but in BC, at least where I'm living here, the job market is kind of going back up. It depends entirely. The only reason you shouldn't be applying, the only reason you shouldn't be looking for a job if you already have a job and you're not looking for a job. Okay. Other than that, you have every single reason to still look for a job. So let's continue here. I want to give you some other nuggets where I know we're 40 minutes into this. If you're getting some value out of this, if you're liking what I'm saying so far, let me know in the comments below, just so I know I'm not just rambling and this information is actually helping you out. Got a question: how to network on LinkedIn? Okay, I talked about this earlier on. I gave you the entire blueprint on how to network. Find people who are doing the job you are doing or doing the job you want to do. Again, we go into that example of accounting assistant or HR recruiter. Make a list of all those people on LinkedIn. Reach out to every one of them on message. Don't include anything about looking for a job. Nothing about looking for a job. Hey, I want to reach out to you. I want to know about your industry. I want to know about your job. Tell me. What they will do is they will literally give you a step-by-step process of how, yeah, I remember when I was graduating, I was in the same boat. I actually had to get this certification. I had to do this. I had to apply. They will tell you how to get that job. So then when you graduated already, you can just follow those steps and you can get the job. Literally, it's like they'll give you a staircase and you just have to climb the stairs and you'll get the job. That's how you network on LinkedIn. I'll be making a lot more videos about LinkedIn later on as well. One thing I do want to touch on is job fairs. Okay, you will have a lot of job fairs in universities, and of course, you know there are good opportunities for you to learn about the industry. I want to help you navigate through job fairs. Okay. If you want to contact me, if you want to work with me directly, check the description below. You have a free, I can give you a consultation depending on if you qualify. I only work with people who are looking for a job, who are ready to invest. So you'll find a link of that in the description as well. Thank you for asking that question. Where was I? Yes, job fairs. So with job fairs, what happens is a lot of employers come and they're looking for students. They're looking for people to join entry-level positions. So this is actually a really good time for you to go and network, okay? Demanding position for Indian lawyers. Guys, I'll answer all your questions at the end as well, just so we kind of keep the flow going. So in the job fairs, you'll have a lot of employers specifically there in your university hiring students. This is great for you if you're looking for a job, right? A mistake I see too many people is they treat this as some sort of a resume distribution campaign. Okay, they'll print out this many resumes and they'll be like, you get a resume, you get a resume, you get a resume, and then they just distribute the resume everywhere. And then, you know, job done. I'm gonna go home and I'll get a call and I'll get a job. This is not how a job fair works. Okay, people aren't looking to get your resume. They've got a billion resumes, and you know what? Honestly, for a lot of people, when you talk to them about the job, they'll probably say, yeah, just go apply online. Here's our link, apply online. They might ask you to put your email address and contact information down as well, and they might contact you later regarding any jobs that open up later. But usually, a lot of people, they just follow this tactic. They're like, yo, we just gonna give as many resumes as possible. Now, this is an amazing opportunity for you, again, like I talked about earlier on, to build that one-on-one relationship. Ask yourself this: if an employer at a booth is talking to 300 students in one day, and the average student is just giving their resume, asking a couple of questions, hey, how much does this pay? What is the salary? Blah, blah, and then they leave, they're not really going to strike much of an impression with the employer, right? But if you come there and you ask them, tell me about what kind of candidates are you looking for? Tell me about what kind of people succeed in this job. Tell me about what you'd like to see in an ideal candidate. Tell me about what the day-to-day looks like in this job. All of a sudden, you're showing interest, You're showing the employer that you are someone who is interested in the industry. You're someone who's interested in the company. Guys, every employer is looking for someone who's interested in the job, interested in the company, interested in the industry. If you can show that by taking an interest in them, you've got a lot higher odds of standing out. So when you go there, I want you to make a personal connection with the people you're talking to at the job fair. If they ask for your resume, great. You can ask them, hey, are you guys taking resumes or do you prefer me applying online? They'll just tell you, right? And you can even tell them, listen, I don't want my resume just to be on the top of the pile. I don't want it to be in a bunch of pile with someone else. What does it take to really stand out in your organization? They will tell you, listen, we've got a lot of students applying, but some of the students in the past who've been successful, they've done X, Y, Z. Now you know what you have to do to succeed. Now you've gotten a blueprint. Guys, it's all about knowing how to ask the right questions to the employers so you stand out. I hope you're seeing how much of a difference does it make. Let me know in the chat below. Are you seeing how the average student takes this opportunity and how you can do it and how big of a difference that can make? If you are competing with 300, 400, 500 people, guys, you really have to stand out. Just because you have a degree doesn't mean people will just come and give you a job. Just in your class, there might be 50, 100 people graduating with that same exact degree. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of where I studied. It was a town called Kamloops. Kamloops had a population of 100,000, right? And when you have one main university there with maybe 100 people graduating with an accounting degree every single semester, there aren't enough jobs for every single one of those students. You have to compete with everyone else. If everyone graduates with a degree, what do you have that makes you stand out? Your communication skills, your experience during university, and of course, your connection with the employer is so much more important. So I hope you've been writing all this down because this will be an absolute game changer for you when you're actually applying. So today, let's wrap things up. We've talked about how to properly apply for a job, how to use LinkedIn. That this is going to be the biggest thing I want you to take away. Use LinkedIn to find a job because this is where you create connections. This is where you create credibility. This is the social media everyone's going to be following you at. And when you have job fairs, don't use this as an opportunity to just kind of, show your resume to everyone. That's not what it's about. It's all about taking an interest in the employer, in the job, all of that. And then again, the resume is going to be your first point of contact with the employer. It's going to be your make or break. If you're not getting any calls back, if you don't feel confident about your resume, you have to be 100% confident in your resume before you apply because then you're just missing out on a lot of opportunities. If you're going to ask me, Yasser, I've got a resume that I think is pretty good. Should I apply to a job? My answer is going to be no. Don't apply because you're going to waste an opportunity. Instead, find out for a fact. Use a career expert. If you want to work with me, you can work with me as well. Check out the link in the description for that. Check out your career department. Whoever you want to work with, get some expert advice. Is your resume good enough? If it is, then I want you to apply. Guys, your resume is you keep seeing me talk about resumes. All my videos on my channels are about resume. Why do you think I'm doing that? Because I spent 7 months working a job that I was overqualified for with a master's degree after putting thousands of dollars. And the only problem was I didn't have the right resume. That was literally my only problem. And it took me 7 months to realize that. So if you want to eliminate that problem, if you want a step-by-step process, I will literally guide you hand in hand, show you how to make a resume for when you want to apply. Check out the link in the description for my full step-by-step course. I'll have a special price for you right now. All right, guys. So it's been 48 minutes. Now I want to get to your questions. I've got a couple of questions I got through Google. People emailed me about that as well. I'm going to start with a chat right now. I'm going to go to some of the chat questions. If you've got any questions regarding job searching, resumes, LinkedIn, post that here. I'm not going to be talking about anything about education or visa, anything like that. Do not include any questions about that here. So let's just get started. What question do we have? Please share your journey after completing your MEd and how did you land out with a job? Great question, Harshit. Okay, so I completed my Master's of Education, and I talked about this earlier on as well. Previously, I have a bachelor's in business administration from Malaysia. So when I graduated with my master's in education, I initially wanted to go into counseling because they had a counseling stream. But within the first semester, they actually decided to cancel that stream. And I was like, what am I supposed to do now? So I kind of just finished the degree, and a lot of people who graduate with this degree, they go back and they get a teaching certification, and then they go teach somewhere. But it's a longer process, and I didn't really want to teach that. So with my master's of education, I realized I had gained a lot of important skills. I knew I was very analytical. I had to write reports on a weekly basis. I had to present in front of people literally every single week, and I had to be very good at fact checking and referencing and all of that. And then I had my business background. I had my background in Malaysia and human resource. So I was looking for something. What can I do that allows me to educate people? What can I do that allows me to use my skills in business as well and combine the two of them to find a job? Now, if you've seen my videos on here on YouTube, you'll see I've got a lot of videos on university, a lot of videos on students, a lot of videos on jobs. And that's because I'm passionate about education, hence my degree, and I'm passionate about teaching students. That's something I'm really passionate about. So I applied to when I was working with my career mentor. Before that, I was just working in a hair salon because I had no money and I was going to do anything that I found. When I used my career mentor, I took her help and she charged me a couple of $100 every single session. But who cares, man? She told me how to get a job and I made all that money back anyway, so it was fine. I applied to a bunch of universities because I wanted to work at a university. I swear to God, when I was applying, I was like, I'm probably not going to get a call back. I'll apply anyway. I used the exact tips my career mentor had laid out for me. Guys, I applied to 4 jobs. Within a week, I had 4 job interviews lined up for me at these universities. I was blown away. I was like, I had spent 7 months trying to do this on my own, and it just backfired on me. I was just wasting time. None of it was working. And within 1 week of working with a mentor, I had 4 interviews. So I did those interviews. They went really well, but they had a requirement of needing a vehicle, a car, because I had to travel between university campuses. And I, believe it or not, I can't drive. I don't have the ability to drive. I don't know how to drive a car. I don't own a vehicle. So that didn't work out. All 4 positions, because of that thing, it didn't work out. So side note, if you're coming to Canada, try to get your driver's license as soon as you can. I still don't have mine. Funny enough, so my last interview was on one day, and I went to my gym. It's a martial arts gym, and I'm practicing with this guy, and we get to talking, and he's like, "So, what are you doing in Vancouver?" And I just told him I'm looking for a job, and he's like, "What kind of job are you looking for?" And I said, "Well, I'm looking for something in recruitment." He's like, "Well, I work in a recruitment firm, and we're actually hiring right now." Gave him my resume, and the rest was history. So you have to be networking literally everywhere, every step of the process. You just have to be networking, telling everyone you're looking for a job. Guys, if you don't have a job, your full-time job is to find a job, okay? All right, let's get to some more questions here. Let's see, what else we got? What are the job opportunities after graduating with BSc in computer science and mathematics major? Raj, it's a very specific question. I know a lot of people who are graduating in computer science. A lot of the job postings I see are for IT help desk support, IT technician, people who help run the servers, people who provide service to people in an office setting. So, an office IT support, I see a lot of those entry level jobs. Depends on where you want to go. Do you want to go into the software side of things? Do you want to go into the hardware side of things? All you have to do, I don't care if you're in Canada, India, Russia, wherever you are, all you have to do is go to Google, write down whatever job you want. And write down the city, you will get a whole list of the jobs they have there. You will get their price range, their salary range. You'll get all the information you want simply through a Google search. So do a couple of researches and then see what kind of jobs come up, and that'll give you a good idea what the scope looks like. All right, next question. Answered this one before. How to get first part-time job as a student, Prathan? Okay, great question. We talked about this earlier on. Go online, a great place to start is if you know students who are already working part-time, just ask them to ask their boss when their next hiring cycle is going to be. Because if you already have friends who are working somewhere, all they have to do is say, "Hey boss, when are you guys hiring next? My friend wants to apply." And they'll just tell you, "Yeah, you know what, next month we're going to apply." And now you can add, they'll tell your friends and then you can apply. So referral is really big. You can really ask your friends to do that, because when you're in university, I would say like 70% of people have jobs, if not more. And you can just ask anyone, "Hey, you're working here. How did you get a job? How do I get a job?" Same exact process. Or again, go to online job postings. This is one scenario where I would actually recommend using online job postings, because you can't just go in there and hand them your resume. It doesn't really work for a lot of places because they'll just tell you, "Okay, go and apply online anyway," because everything is done online. And then, like we mentioned in this entire today workshop today, have your resume individually tailored to that specific jobs, communication skill, attention to detail, organize, team working. These are the things you will need for every single job to have that on there. Okay, let's see what else we got. Good time for international students to jump universities following pandemic. Jump universities, I'm not really sure about that. Again, like my expertise right now is in recruiting and job finding. You'll have to talk to a student recruiter. It'll give you better advice on that. How to contact you. If you want to contact me, listen, I get hundreds and hundreds of emails of people saying, hey, I've got this problem, that problem, this problem. Listen, I'm not running a charity here. I have my own life. I have my own business here as well. I would love to help you out. If you qualify for a call, if you qualify working with me one-on-one, you want me to help you find a job, just like I've helped hundreds of students, not only with this YouTube channel, but with my counseling services, check out the comment section, check out the description here. It'll have a link to a survey. If you qualify for that, I'd love to work with you. If you don't have the budget for that, if you can't afford working with me, check out my course right now. It's on a special price. It will cost you less than what you pay for lunch, and it will literally give you a step-by-step breakdown how to write a resume so you actually get a job. That sound fair enough? If it does, check out the course in the description right now. Okay. See what else we got. We've got demanding position for Indian lawyers. Again, it's a very specific question for a very specific audience. I want to make sure everyone understand that. I'm not sure what that question means entirely, Reddy. So if you can like expand on that, I understand. Raj got another question. Do you recommend a first-year student to immediately looking for part-time job? Awesome question, Raj. I love this question. Thank you so much for answering this. I actually didn't work in my first semester for this exact reason, because my parents were like, we want you to settle in and understand how demanding your education is first. Because too many people, what they do is their entire life is like, I want to find a part-time job. I want to get a job first, and then I'll focus on your education. But then their education is so demanding that they can't balance their time with their education and their part-time job because they've taken up too many hours. I would say you're probably going to be working 20 hours or less, at least if you're working in Canada and if you're an international student. I would say for the first semester, try to get an idea of what the course load looks like, or even take the first month, the first 2 months to see how demanding is it, how much work is there, because you're there to study. Remember that this is your main goal. You're not there to earn minimum wage salary. That is just to support your education. Get an idea of how much you can balance, because everyone balances differently. I was doing a lot of extracurricular activities. I was doing public speaking workshops, speaking engagements. I was mentoring students. I was doing my master's degree, my master's thesis. At the same time, I was working, and I had no time, guys. Like no time for a social life, nothing. So if you don't want to be in a position like that, take a month, take 2 months, see what your education is like, how hard is it. Then you can also always start looking for a job. I will tell you, you will be a little bit behind because everyone who's searching for a job will already have found a job. But if you're not in a particular rush, if you don't have a lot of financial difficulties, take that time to really see how much you can balance. It'll really help you out mentally. I hope that answered your question. All right, I'll take a couple of more questions. Let's see here. Can Indian lawyers work in Canada? Which program should they opt in? Again, I don't know much about law or Indian lawyers. You'll have to consult an immigration consultant for that. I'm not exactly sure. How is a job prospect in supply chain management in Canada than planning to get post-bac diploma? Honestly, most of my best friends are post-bac graduates, and they've got amazing jobs, not just in Kamloops, but in Vancouver. One of my closest friends here works in Vancouver as well. Finished post-bac in finance, I believe, applied to one single job with my help, of course, and got that one single job, and that's where he is now. He literally didn't apply anywhere else. Laziest student I ever know, laziest person I've ever worked with. I gave him my resume course. I gave him step-by-step instructions just to show him how to apply for a job. And the guy didn't apply anywhere else, and he got that one job. So like, I can't help that. But if you're going to do a post-bac degree, you'll be able to find a job as long as you're following all the tips that I've laid out for you here today. All right, so looks like those are all the questions in the chat. Looks like I've answered all the questions you guys had here as well. We're rounding up to a 1 hour mark. Awesome, guys. Well, so far, let me know in the comments what is one piece of information you really learned from this whole session. I've given you as much value as I possibly can in this whole 1 hour session. Now, again, If you really want to work with me on a personal basis, I do this as well. I do consulting services. Check out the link in the description. Just for today, I also have my course up at a very special price in the description. You can check it out in the description now. And of course, for all future videos, tune into this channel. We're going to be talking a lot about jobs. We're not going to be talking about any university related stuff now because I haven't been a student in 2 years, guys. I've graduated. I've done that. I want to focus on more job searching questions. So there's a list of all people doing this on YouTube where they provide information about education, universities. I'll have their channels in here as well. Again, hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe to the channel, like this video. I will have this video posted later on as well. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you next time. Take care.